Good evening. So I am going to read at least like the candidate statements and the proposition info from the San Francisco 2015 consolidated municipal election ballot. So I'm going to read the description of each office and then the all right, technical difficulties there. So I'm going to read the description of each office and then the candidates for it. So let's start with the mayor. The mayor is the chief executive office of the city and county of San Francisco. The term of office for mayor is 4 years. The mayor is paid $293,023 per year. So candidates for mayor. The incumbent is Ed Lee, who is somewhat unpopular because apparently I don't know if he's been actively complicit in the housing crisis or if he's just not really helped, but also he's got kind of a history of like parking wherever the hell he wants and like you kind of don't want somebody like that in charge of your city, right? Kent Graham is a retired hospital administrator. My qualifications are, I think the politicians have gotten caught up in their own rhetoric and overlooked the people who matter most in our beloved city, San Franciscans. We can't be spending time in India looking for outsourced jobs for the tech and garment industries when there are homeless people here in San Francisco that could use those jobs. We shouldn't have let the 49ers move to Santa Clara when a new stadium shopping complex would have revitalized Hunters Point. Oh, stadium shopping complex, not a stadium shopping complex. Buy your stadiums here. We shouldn't have let the 49ers move to Santa Clara when a new stadium shopping complex would have revitalized Hunters Point. For the greatest city in the world to have the roads, sewer system, and homeless problems we have is just unacceptable in my view. I will do things that have an immediate impact for the citizens of San Francisco. Some of the ideas I have listed on my website, kentgrahamformayor.com, kentgraham4mayor.com. Most politicians want to get reelected and will compromise their values and promises to do so. I am running once only, and I ask for your vote to return the city to our citizens. I am not a politician. I am a manager that has brought over 400 budgets in under budget in my 40-year managerial career. This city needs a manager to get things organized. I can do that and within the budget. Kent Graham. Francisco Herrera. My occupation is musician educator. My name is Francisco Herrera, 30-year resident of San Francisco, where my wife and I have raised our children and enjoy the presence of our grandchildren, now in the school system while our children provide service throughout the city. My trades, music, and education have allowed me to work with San Francisco families in the city's diverse religious, labor, ethnic communities. The quest for justice has led me through many rural and urban areas of the Americas as an emergency service worker during the Loma Prieta earthquake, community peace initiatives in the city, in refugee camps during the wars in Central America and Mexico, which led me to gain a degree in political science and a master's in theology. Every neighborhood I visit, I hear, Francisco, we need to save our city before it is too late. Over 10,000 people have been evicted from the Mission alone, thousands more from our other districts. Together, we have developed an 8-point platform, which prioritizes affordable homes for all, strengthening city college, support K-12 education, K-12 education, securing healthy San Francisco for all, assuring local living wage jobs, strengthening our unique artistic heritage. More on People's campaign at francisco.nationbuilder.com. Francisco Herrera. Ed Lee. My occupation is Mayor of San Francisco. My qualifications are, in 2011, unemployment was 11%. We made job creation our top priority, and unemployment rates plummeted. Today, unemployment is 3.4%. We created more than 76,000 jobs across all industries and income levels. We invested in San Francisco by revitalizing Market Street, building new hospitals, repairing parks, and providing free muni for seniors and youth. Now, with a better economy, my priority is to ensure everyone is able to share in this growing prosperity. I'm determined to make San Francisco affordable at all levels. I have a plan to build 30,000 new homes with more than 33% affordable to working families. I'm working to reform the Ellis Act to stop evictions. We're renovating dilapidated public housing. I'm sponsoring a $250 million affordable housing bond. We've opened a navigation center that's moving homeless individuals off the streets and into housing. And I'm determined to attack poverty at its roots with a plan to directly help our city's poorest families. We are a city where everyone belongs. I want to keep it that way. That's why I'm running. Endorsed by San Francisco Democratic Party, Dianne Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi, Jerry Brown, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Fiona Ma, George Gascon, Alex Randolph, 8 San Francisco supervisors. Ed Lee. I don't actually know how many supervisors there are. I don't know if that's all of them or like 1/10. Reed Martin. My occupation is designer. My qualifications are, let's define the future of San Francisco together. That's a qualification, is it? It's time to prove that wealth and economic vibrancy need not come at the expense of our city's residents and cultural heritage. In San Francisco, we know how to dream big. Our history is short, but our story is resilient. We've inspired the world with our compassion and acceptance. Let's use those attributes to shape this city, our city. I call it Grand SF, our city, our vision. A San Francisco with vibrant neighborhoods, world-class transportation, a diversity of culture, an abundance of natural spaces, and inspirational, equitable architecture. We can only do this together. As mayor, I will introduce our city fund, advocating for 1% of our budget to go toward your ideas. That's up to $90 million for the direct input of San Franciscans, not profits, to make our city better for every resident. Let's leverage our economic vitality to shape this grand future while preserving and growing the very communities that have made San Francisco what it is today. Cities around the world are struggling with affordability and income inequality crises. San Francisco can once again lead the world and prove there's a better way. MayorGrandSF.org. Reed Martin. Stuart Shuffman, whom you may have heard of under the nickname Broke-Ass Stuart. My occupation is journalist. My qualifications are, I believe in San Francisco. I believe in it as a place and as an ideal. I believe in the way the utterance of its name is enough to make people cross continents to move here. I believe in the city's ability to change the way the rest of the world thinks. And I believe in it as the place where I finally understood the word home. Over the past few years, I've watched as San Francisco has been pulled out from under us and sold to the highest bidder, and I'm fed up and heartbroken. San Francisco is for everyone, not just the wealthy elite, and this is why I've decided to run for mayor. I'm running for the grandmothers who've been evicted, the artists who've been chased out of town, and the working people who've lost their homes. I'm running because the world needs San Francisco to be the haven for people who don't fit in elsewhere. I'm running because community is more important than money, and I'm running for you. I love San Francisco, and I believe in it. I hope you do too. Stuart Shuffman. Amy Farah Weiss. My occupation is educator/strategist/activist. My qualifications are, my name is Amy Farah Weiss, and I am running for mayor to implement solutions for a livable, equitable, and resilient San Francisco and restore balance to our regional systems of housing, industry, transit, and sustainability. For over 15 years, I have worked in service toward individual organizational, and collective well-being as an educator, service provider, researcher, public speaker, coordinator, developer, strategist, artist, and activist. After graduating with an interdisciplinary master's degree in organizational development and training from SF State in 2010, I developed a service learning course in support of strategic planning, communications, and evaluation for nonprofit organizations and graduate students through SF State's Public Administration Department. In 2011, I joined neighborhood activists to prevent local businesses from being displaced by a Chase Bank and learned how to shape City Hall's guiding policies for development as an advocate for social equity and vibrant culture. I founded Neighbors Developing Divisadero as a nonprofit public benefit corporation to say yes in my backyard to inclusive, enriching, and sustainable development. As director, I led a participatory planning process to revitalize a blighted historic theater, strengthened protections for local businesses, and worked with citywide networks to reactivate a dormant community garden. Amy Farah Weiss. Now so San Francisco has this ranked choice voting system where you pick 3 candidates, if there are 3, when there are 3, and you say, these are the 3 I want in this order of preference. So 3 of these candidates for mayor have actually sort of allied themselves together in a, I think they call it like 1, 2, 3 to beat Ed Lee, something like that. Because Ed Lee is the incumbent, and there are a bunch of people who want him out. So they've allied themselves together in the theory that if enough people vote the 1, 2, 3 ticket in whatever order, the order doesn't matter, but if they vote for these 3 candidates, they can at least vote against Ed Lee and kick him out. So if you've heard about that and that appeals to you, those 3 are Francisco Herrera, Stuart Schuffman, and Amy Farah Weiss. Again, in any order. So next up is the sheriff. The sheriff runs the county jails and provides bailiffs security for the courts. The term of office for the sheriff is 4 years. The sheriff is paid $224,426 per year. Candidates for sheriff, and there are 3 of them. Vicki Hennessy. My occupation is retired interim sheriff. My qualifications are: San Francisco deserves a sheriff who serves with integrity, adhering to the highest standards of personal and professional conduct. I'll restore trusted leadership to the sheriff's department. I joined the department in 1975, the first class combining men and women, rising quickly through the ranks to chief deputy. I served as director of emergency management and was appointed interim sheriff by Mayor Ed Lee in 2012. I stand for leadership, taking full responsibility for decisions, leading by example, and inviting collaboration to provide law enforcement at its best for the communities we serve. Safe, humane jails, protecting the safety of inmates, deputies, and visitors through competent management and effective supervision. Eviction assistance, helping tenants facing eviction by providing referrals to housing and social services. In-custody programs, providing education, job preparation, and mental health treatment to inmates, preparing them for productive life after jail. Alternatives to incarceration, balancing criminal justice with social justice objectives to reduce jail populations and recidivism. My endorsers include Senator Dianne Feinstein, Mayor Ed Lee, Board President London Breed, San Francisco Deputy Sheriff's Association, Managers and Supervisors Association, Firefighters Local 798, and United Educators of San Francisco. I would be honored to have your vote. HennessyForSheriff.com. Vicki Hennessy. Ross Mercarimi, who is the incumbent, if I remember correctly. My occupation is sheriff. Well, there you go. My qualifications are: Mike Hennessy was sheriff for 32 years. He knows all the candidates and endorses one. I proudly endorse the re-election of Sheriff Ross Mercury. He is an independent reformer and has delivered impressive results no matter the obstacle. He's effectively led the city through state prisoner realignment, reduced high recidivism rates, and innovated public safety improvements. Ross is moving San Francisco forward. End quote. SF Jails, a national leader. State Prison Chief Jeffrey Beard inspects San Francisco's jails. Inside view of model jail. County jail is an example for state. SF Examiner, October 3rd, 2014. In 2015, Harvard's Kennedy School honors SF Sheriff's Department 5 Keys Charter High School for innovation for inmate rehabilitation. Only law enforcement agency selected nationally. Tackling real problems. Jails becoming psychiatric hospitals, evictions causing homelessness, enforcing greater law enforcement transparency, accountability, job training placement for the formerly incarcerated, increasing substance abuse and mental health treatment, saving taxpayer dollars, helping SFPD with station transfer units and SF General Hospital runs. Retain tradition. Progressive independent sheriff, not beholden to machine politics or law enforcement special interests. Please join former Sheriff Mike Hennessy, former Mayor Art Agnos, San Francisco Tenants Union, Latino Democratic Club, District 3 Democratic Club, Potrero Hill Democratic Club, SEIU 1021, National Union of Healthcare Workers, and Unite Here, Local 2. I respectfully ask for your vote. Ross Mercury, re-elect Ross for sheriff.com. And one more. John Robinson. My occupation is business owner. My qualifications are, I am a former lieutenant in the Sheriff's Department. I have served in every facet of the department as administrative assistant to Sheriff Richard Honquisto, background clearance and training officer, and served in both the criminal as well as the civil divisions. For 5 years, I was an operational commander of the Emergency Service Unit. I have received a certificate of honor from the San Francisco City and County Board of Supervisors for my outstanding work as the Inter-Perimeter Mass Arrest Commander during the 1984 Democratic Convention. I guess he'll definitely bring up the arrest rates then. I was named Supervisor of the Year in 1986 for demonstrating qualities of humanitarianism, fairness, and exceptional judgment, with a capital J. Presently, I am owner of Interstate Security, Inc., a privately owned security company which employs 34 people. However, I consider my strongest qualification is that I know and love the Sheriff's Department and the people who it is responsible for. John Robinson. City Attorney. The City Attorney is the lawyer for the City and County of San Francisco in all civil actions. The City Attorney serves as the legal advisor to the Mayor, the Board of Supervisors, all city departments, and all city commissions. The City Attorney prepares or approves the form of all city laws, contracts, bonds, and any other legal documents that concern the city. The City Attorney appoints deputy city attorneys to assist with this work. The term of office for the City Attorney is 4 years. The City Attorney is paid $240,969 per year. There is one candidate for City Attorney, Dennis J. Herrera. My occupation is City Attorney. He's the incumbent. My qualifications are, I lead one of the most aggressive and talented city law departments in the nation, according to American Lawyer magazine, and the American Bar Association honored us for outstanding excellence. We appreciate national recognition in the City Attorney's office, of course, but our work has always aspired to something much more important, making a difference in the lives of those we serve. That aspiration motivated accomplishments like saving City College. My lawsuit blocked the termination of City College's accreditation accreditation, averting closure to 80,000 students. Winning marriage equality. Our 9-year fight won marriage rights for thousands of LGBT Californians and forged influential precedent. Battling corruption and fraud. I've fearlessly pursued officials, contractors, and lobbyists to uphold public integrity. Fighting for workers and consumers. I've won millions in back pay and refunds for victims of wage theft, predatory lending, and more. Protecting renters and affordable housing. I have taken on countless abusive landlords and enforced housing laws that saved thousands from eviction. In the midst of a serious affordability crisis, the work I do as your city attorney is more important than ever. I'm endorsed by San Francisco's Democratic Party, among many others. I respectfully ask for your vote for my re-election. Learn more, Herrera2015.com. Dennis J. Herrera. And then there's the district attorney, not to be confused with the city attorney. I like how they have the offices listed in a completely different order than the candidates are listed by office. District Attorney. The District Attorney prosecutes criminal court cases for the City and County of San Francisco. The term of office for the District Attorney is, wait for it, 4 years. The District Attorney is paid $258,916 per year. And there is once again one candidate. George Gascon. My occupation is San Francisco District Attorney. My qualifications are, I've dedicated most of my adult life to making communities safer. In Los Angeles, I joined the police department, where I rose to second in command while earning a law degree and commanding more than 8,000 personnel. Before becoming district attorney, I served as San Francisco's police chief. During that time, we reduced crime to its lowest level in decades. As DA, I've continued working to make San Francisco safer by implementing a modern justice system that focuses on crime prevention, victims, and locking up violent offenders, increasing victim services access by deploying multilingual advocates in the community, enhancing DA services for domestic violence victims and senior citizens, prosecuting wage theft and hate crimes, launching the Neighborhood Prosecution Program to keep low-level offenders from committing crime, creating California's first sentencing commission, leading national effort to reduce smartphone thefts by requiring U.S.-sold smartphones to contain kill switches. Today I learned. Leading statewide criminal justice reform efforts to improve community safety and reduce reoffending, increasing transparency and accountability. I'd be honored to have your vote. To learn more, visit georgegascon.com. Thank you, George Gascon. And then there's treasurer. The treasurer is responsible for receiving, paying out, and investing all city and county funds. The treasurer manages the day-to-day cash flow of the city and county, directs the office of the tax collector, works closely with city departments to ensure timely deposit of funds received, and is a major participant in the issuance of general obligation bonds, revenue bonds, and tax and revenue anticipation notes. The term of office for the treasurer is 4 years. The treasurer is paid $182,350 per year, presumably having absolutely no influence upon that amount. Candidates for treasurer. Well, candidate for treasurer. Jose Cisneros. My occupation is San Francisco treasurer. My qualifications are, as treasurer, I've used my business and public service financial expertise to maximize city revenue through smart investments and fair tax collection, whilst recognizing a greater responsibility to San Francisco and its residents. Safe money management means more for muni, healthcare, and vital services. I have also expanded social responsibility screens for banking and investments, while increasing deposits in local banks and credit unions to match our values. The treasurer's office faces its greatest challenge in a generation with the gross receipts tax. I have leveraged enhanced customer service, technological improvements, and community outreach to ensure the implementation is transparent, responsive, and fair. As a proponent of financial justice, I created programs to assist San Franciscans in opening accounts, avoiding predatory lending, accessing tax benefits, getting paid more safely, and opening children's saving accounts for college. My outstanding record of safe money management, revenue collections, and financial justice has helped San Francisco. I would appreciate your vote. JoseCisneros.com. Endorsements, partial. Senator Dianne Feinstein, Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, Attorney General Kamala Harris, Assembly Member Phil Ting, Assembly Member David Chu, Controller Betty Yee, Board of Equalization Board Member Fiona Ma, Mayor Ed Lee, Assessor Carmen Chu. Jose Cisneros. And I think this is the last section in candidates. Community College Board. Oh. Apparently there should be Board of Supervisors candidates somewhere here. Apparently there are no statements for anybody running for the Board of Supervisors. So you will have to consult your ballot if you live in District 3. Member Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors is the legislative branch of government for the City and County of San Francisco. Its members make laws and approve the annual budget for city departments. There are 11 members of the Board of Supervisors. Only voters in District 3 will vote for their member of the Board of Supervisors in this election. I'm not in District 3, so I don't have those candidates. This office appears on the ballot because of a vacancy created in December 2014. The term of office for the person elected to fill this vacancy will be 1 year, which is the remainder of the current 4-year term. Supervisors are paid $113,851 per year. And Member Community College Board. The Community College Board is the governing body for the San Francisco Community College District. It directs City College and other adult learning centers. The term of office for members of the Community College Board is 4 years. They are paid $6,000 per year. There are 7 members of the Community College Board. In this election, voters will elect 1 member to fill a vacancy created in February of 2015. The term of office for the person elected to fill this vacancy will be 1 year, which is the remainder of the current 4-year term. So, Community College Board. There are 4 candidates for the one opening. Wendy Aragon. My occupation is construction project manager. My qualifications are: City College deserves an independent voice, fighting for the quality education that will serve our students and community best. Full accreditation, providing a solid basis for transfer students, affordable quality education for all, workforce training, transparency in governance and fiscal responsibility, reducing the achievement gap in low-income communities, lifelong learning. I will be that voice. As a product of California community colleges, I owe my academic success to student support programs, which inspired me to become a student leader, working within a college infrastructure and lobbying at the state level on behalf of student needs. I have spent the last 3.5 years actively working with the Save City College Coalition. This, along with my experience in project management and service as chair of the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission Citizens Advisory Committee, gives me the professional skills and policy experience needed on the Board of Trustees. My supporters include City College Faculty Union, AFT 2121, San Francisco Building and Construction Trades Council, Sierra Club, San Francisco Tenants Union, City College Trustees Bridget Davila and John Rizzo, former Mayor Art Agnos, former Democratic Party Chair Jane Morrison, San Francisco Latino Democratic Club. I'd be honored to be your choice for City College this November 3rd. WendyAragon.com. Wendy Aragon. Alex Randolph. My occupation is Community College Board Trustee. So, the incumbent. My qualifications are: City College is at a critical juncture. As the newest member of your Board of Trustees, I am working tirelessly for our students to fix our biggest challenges. From working with Mayor Gavin Newsom to my appointment in President Barack Obama's administration, it has been my duty to make government work better for people. Now I'm proud to continue that mission, serving students looking for a path to a better life through City College. The Community College Board's recently restored powers are proof that we're improving, but we have more work to do. My priorities for City College are to ensure City College stays accredited by building strong city partnerships, increase enrollment by conducting grassroots outreach to our communities, and strengthen funding by creating a sustainable financial plan. City College's decreasing enrollment is especially pronounced among communities of color. As a young African American product of community college, my own educational journey is a powerful example for struggling students on what City College can do for them. Please vote for me to continue this fight for our San Francisco students as your Community College Board trustee. AlexRandolph.com. Endorsements, partial list. Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, Mayor Ed Lee, State Senator Mark Leno, Assembly Member David Chu, Supervisors Malia Cohen, Mark Farrell, Scott Weiner, I don't know how you pronounce his name. Sorry if I got it wrong. Julie Christensen, and Norman Yee. San Francisco Assessor Recorder Carmen Chu, Alice B. Toklas, LGBT Democratic Club, San Francisco Young Democrats, District 3 Democratic Club, San Francisco Firefighters, Local 798, San Francisco Parent Political Action Committee. Alex Randolph. Tom Temprano. My occupation is small business owner. My qualifications are, as a former instructor teaching low-income San Franciscans the skills to open up their own small businesses, I know the power education has to lift up people and communities. My expertise in community college and higher education led me to become an advocate for the rights of students and teachers. I'm proud to have worked with faculty, students, and staff to keep City College open. As a former community college student, SFSU graduate, and small business owner, I will take my experience working with nonprofits and government agencies to address the enrollment crisis that City College faces. As a City College trustee, I will create a community outreach campaign to increase student enrollment, cut unnecessary spending on middle management and consultants, rebuild the relationship between the San Francisco Unified School District and City College to create an enrollment bridge for students. Read more about my plan to move City College forward, tomtemprano.com. Endorsements. Supervisor David Campos, Supervisor Jane Kim, Supervisor John Avalos, former Senator Carol Migden, former Assembly Member Tom Amaiano, City College Board Vice President Thea Selby, former City College Board President Tom Wolfred, former Board of Education President Mark Sanchez, former Board of Education member Kim Sri Malfas. Don't know if I pronounced that right. Sorry if I didn't. Tom Temprano. And Jason Zhang. My occupation is data analyst. My qualifications are technical aptitude is a requisite for a career in San Francisco. I believe an introduction to computer science course should be a required class at City College. I grew up in Novato, went to Berkeley, and now work in the city. I work mostly on databases and servers. I code in SQL and Node.js. I studied economics and plant science in college. Jason Zhang. Okay. Let's see. So, ballot measures. So there's a whole lexicon by the Ballot Simplification Committee of words you need to know. I'll refer to that as needed. And it's also got an overview of bond financing. I'll skim this a little bit. The type of long-term borrowing used to raise money for projects. The city receives money by selling bonds to investors. The city must pay back the amount borrowed plus interest to those investors. The money raised from bond sales is used to pay for large capital projects such as fire and police stations, affordable housing programs, schools, libraries, parks, and other city facilities. The city uses bond financing because these buildings will last many years and their large dollar costs are difficult to pay for all at once. General obligation bonds are used to pay for projects that benefit citizens but do not raise revenue. For example, police stations or parks are not set up to pay for themselves. When general obligation bonds are approved and sold, they are repaid by property taxes. The affordable housing bond on this ballot is a general obligation bond to be issued by the city. General obligation bonds to be issued by the city must be approved by 2/3 of the voters. Revenue bonds are used to pay for projects such as major improvements to an airport, water system, garage, or other large facilities which generate revenue. Blah, blah, blah. There is no revenue bond on this ballot. Right. So you can read the whole thing if you want to. Affordable housing bond. To finance the construction, development, acquisition, and preservation of housing affordable to low and middle income households through programs that will prioritize vulnerable populations such as San Francisco's working families, veterans, seniors, disabled persons. To assist in the acquisition, rehabilitation, and preservation of affordable rental apartment buildings to prevent the eviction of long-term residents. To repair and reconstruct dilapidated public housing, to fund a middle-income rental program, and to provide for home ownership down payment assistance opportunities for educators and middle-income households. Shall the city and county of San Francisco issue $310 million in general obligation bonds, subject to independent citizen oversight and regular audits? Yes or no? So, state law requires, this is the way it is now. State law requires that the city's general plan describes San Francisco's housing needs, set goals for providing housing, and develop programs to meet those goals. It is city policy to support the construction and rehabilitation of 30,000 new housing units by 2020, with at least 33% of those permanently affordable to low and moderate income households, and over 50% within financial reach of middle-class households. The city's funding for affordable housing comes from property taxes, hotel taxes, developer fees, and other local sources. The use of city money triggers the availability of funding from other public and private sources. The city expects that money from these sources will not be enough to meet its future low, moderate, and middle-income housing goals. The city's spending of money from general obligation bonds is monitored by the Citizens General Obligation Bond Oversight Committee. The proposal, Proposition A, is an ordinance that would allow the city to borrow up to $310 million by issuing general obligation bonds. The city would use this money to build, buy, improve, and rehabilitate affordable housing in San Francisco. The city could use the funds to finance the development, construction, preservation, and rehabilitation of affordable rental housing near established transit corridors or within priority development areas, acquire, rehabilitate, and preserve existing rental housing to prevent the loss of rental housing and the displacement of longtime city residents, repair and reconstruct dilapidated public housing, or provide infrastructure improvements that allow for the repair or improvement of public housing sites, fund middle-income rental housing units, assist middle-income city residents, including teachers, in purchasing their first home in the city, and acquire, rehabilitate, preserve, construct, and/or develop affordable housing in the Mission Area Plan. Proposition A would allow an increase in the property tax to pay for the bonds if needed. Landlords would be permitted to pass through up to 50% of any resulting property tax increase to tenants. However, it is city policy to limit the amount of money it borrows. Therefore, because of the retirement of existing debt and the growth of the property tax base, the city does not expect the property tax rate to increase. So a yes vote means if you vote yes, you want the city to issue 300 general obligation bonds to acquire housing, including in the mission area plan, rehabilitate or reconstruct public housing, fund middle-income rental housing, and assist middle-income city residents in purchasing their first home in the city. A no vote means you do not want the city to issue these bonds. Yeah, I'm not even going to read the arguments in favor and against. You can read them if you want. I'm just going to read the descriptions. Then they have all these paid arguments in favor of Proposition A. Four, five, six, almost 6 pages of paid arguments against, or almost 6 pages of paid arguments in favor of Proposition A. And paid argument against Proposition A, 2 pages worth of that. Right. That is mainly useful, even if you don't read the paid statements. It's kind of useful to gauge where the money is going. So, paid parental leave for city employees. This is Proposition B. Shall the city amend the charter to allow parents who are both city employees to each take the maximum amount of paid parental leave for which they qualify for the birth, adoption, or foster parenting of the same child if both parents are city employees, and to provide each parent the opportunity to keep up to 40 hours of sick leave at the end of paid parental leave? The way it is now, the charter provides city employees with 12 weeks of paid parental leave to care for a child after birth or adoption or becoming a foster parent. A city employee may receive an additional 4 weeks of paid parental leave if, as certified by a healthcare provider, the employee is temporarily disabled by pregnancy. If 2 city employees qualify to take paid parental leave, they may not each take, this is the way it is now. If 2 city employees qualify to take paid parental leave, they may not each take 12 weeks of leave for the birth, adoption, or foster parenting of the same child. The combined total of paid parental leave allowed for the same child is 12 weeks, or 16 weeks if one employee has been temporarily disabled by pregnancy. Before receiving paid parental leave, an employee must first use all other paid leave, including sick leave, vacation, and floating holidays. If an employee does not use all available paid leave, the amount of unused leave is subtracted from the paid parental leave benefit. The proposal, Proposition B, would amend the charter to allow each parent to take the maximum amount of paid parental leave for which they qualify for the birth, adoption, or foster parenting of the same child if both parents are city employees, and provide city employees the opportunity to keep up to 40 hours of sick leave at the end of paid parental leave. A yes vote means if you vote yes, you want to allow each parent to take the maximum amount. You want to allow each parent to take the maximum amount of paid parental leave for which they qualify for the birth, adoption, or foster parenting of the same child, if both parents are city employees, and provide each parent the opportunity to keep up to 40 hours of sick leave at the end of paid parental leave. If you vote no, you do not want to make these changes to the charter. So for those who follow the numbers, City Controller Ben Rosenfield has issued the following statement on the fiscal impact of Proposition B. It would cost between $570,000 and $1.1 million annually. Based upon historical parental leave usage patterns, we estimate a cost of $100,000 to $160,000 to pay overtime or hire temporary replacements for employees taking additional parental leave who work in 24-hour operations. If these new users took the full 12-week benefit, the cost to backfill positions would range from $270,000 to $410,000 annually. This does not include the cost of replacing employees who are not in 24-hour operations, where a given employee's absence does not reflect an increase in cost, but rather a loss of productivity. Additionally, the amendment allows employees to retain 40 hours of sick leave rather than being required to use those hours prior to using parental leave. The cost to backfill all users of parental leave for the additional 40 hours of leave ranges from $470,000 to $700,000 per year. Again, this amount does not include reduced productivity that may result from absences in non-backfilled positions. And there's an argument in favor, there's an argument against. Two paid arguments in favor and one against. The Libertarian Party of San Francisco put in a paid argument against. They're basically arguing against having children. Yeah, go ahead and die on that hill, folks. Proposition C, Expenditure Lobbyists. Oh, this sounds like a fun one. Shall the city regulate expenditure lobbyists? Wow, I like this already. Shall the city regulate expenditure lobbyists by requiring them to register with the Ethics Commission, pay a $500 registration fee, and file monthly disclosures regarding their lobbying activities? The way it is now, individuals who are paid to directly contact city officers to influence their legislative or administrative actions are called lobbyists. Their activities are regulated by the city's lobbyist ordinance. The ordinance does not address indirect lobbying, also known as expenditure lobbying, where persons solicit or urge others to directly contact city officers. The proposal. Proposition C would define an expenditure lobbyist as any person or business who pays $2,500 or more in a calendar month to solicit, request, or urge others to directly lobby city officers. The types of activities that would apply to the $2,500 threshold include public relations, media relations, and advertising, public outreach, research, investigation, reports, analyses, and studies. The following types of payments would not count toward the $2,500 thresholds. Payments made to a registered lobbyist who directly contacts city officers, payments made to an organization for membership dues, payments made by an organization to distribute communications to its members, payments made by a news media organization to develop and distribute its publications, and payments made by a client to a representative to appear on the client's behalf in a legal proceeding before a city agency or department. Proposition C would require expenditure lobbyists to register with the Ethics Commission, pay a $500 registration fee, and file monthly disclosures regarding their lobbying activities. Employees of nonprofit organizations would not be subject to the $500 registration fee. So would all lobbyists join a nonprofit organization? Proposition C would also allow the city to change these requirements without further voter approval if the change would further the purposes of the ordinance. The Ethics Commission would be required to approve the changes by a 4/5 vote, and the Board of Supervisors would be required to approve them by a 2/3 vote. Voters would retain the right to amend the ordinance. If you vote yes, you want the city to regulate expenditure lobbyists by requiring them to register with the Ethics Commission, pay a $500 registration fee, and file monthly disclosures regarding their lobbying activities. If you vote no, you do not want to make these changes. Let's see. And then we get to the paid arguments. 2 pages worth in favor. Shockingly, only 1 against. So the argument against is basically that it's difficult to distinguish between lobbyists and like faith in community-based nonprofits, as this argument puts it. So yeah, it's a hard one to nail down. Proposition D, Mission Rock. Shall the city increase the height limit for 10 of the 28 acres of the Mission Rock site from 1 story to height limits ranging from 40 to 240 feet, and make it city policy to encourage the development on the Mission Rock site, provided that it includes 8 acres of parks and open space and housing, of which at least 33% is affordable for low and middle income households. The way it is now, the city, through its Port Commission, Port, owns a 28-acre waterfront area located south of AT&T Park across McCovey Cove. Known as Mission Rock, the site consists mostly of Pier 48 and Seawall Lot 337, SWL 337. Seawall Lot 337 includes a paved lot used for public parking, including San Francisco Giants games and special events. Pier 48 is used for parking, special events, and warehousing. The port's use of Mission Rock is limited by requirements of the state's public trust. Although the trust usually prohibits residential and general office uses, state legislation has lifted these restrictions on the use of 337. After engaging in a multi-year community planning process, the port adopted a vision statement for mixed-use development of Mission Rock and selected a developer to create a project consistent with that statement. The Mission Rock site is bounded to the north by China Basin Channel, whatever. In June 2014, San Francisco voters adopted Proposition B, preventing the city from allowing any development on port property to exceed the height limits in effect as of January 1st, 2014, unless the city's voters approve the height limit increase. The current building height limit on Pier 48 and on a portion of the Mission Rock site near the channel is 40 feet. The rest of Mission Rock has building heights limited to 1 story. The proposal. Proposition D would increase the height limit on up to 10 of the 28 acres in Mission Rock so that buildings along Terry Francois Boulevard would have a 120-foot height limit, with building frontages of no more than 40 feet high and uses above 90 feet limited to residential, restaurant, or retail. 3 buildings would have a 240-foot height limit, with the portion above 190 feet limited to residential, restaurant, or retail uses, and floors generally not exceeding 12,000 square feet, and buildings on the rest of the 10 acres would be allowed heights up to 190 feet. Proposition D would retain the 40-foot height limit on Pier 48 and limit buildings to no more than 1 story high on 8 acres of open space in Mission Rock. This measure would require all aspects of development other than the height increase to continue to be subject to public approval processes, including environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act. Proposition D would make it city policy to encourage the development of Mission Rock, provided that the project creates approximately 8 acres of parks and open spaces, and includes approximately 1,000 to 1,950 residential units, most of which are rental and at least 33% of which are affordable to low and middle income households. The city also encourages the development to include rehabilitation and renovation of Pier 48 to historic standards, space for restaurant, retail, commercial, production, manufacturing, artist studio, small business, and nonprofit uses, and 3,100 parking spaces, including an above-ground parking garage with up to 2,300 spaces. A yes vote means if you vote yes, you want to increase the height limit for 10 of the 28 acres of the Mission Rock site from 1 story to height limits ranging from 40 to 240 feet, and make it city policy to encourage the development provided that it includes 8 acres of parks and open space and housing, of which 33% is affordable for low and middle income households. If you vote no, you do not want to increase the height limit or adopt this city policy. Arguments in favor, 2 pages, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, almost 14 pages of paid arguments in favor of Proposition D. And there is exactly one argument, or one paid argument against. E, requirements for public meetings. Shall the city broadcast all city meetings live on the internet? Allow members of the public to submit electronically during the meeting live written, video, or audio comments from any location, and require those comments be played. Require pre-recorded video testimony to be played during a meeting, and allow the public or board, commission, or committee members to request the discussion of a particular agenda begin at a specific time. The way it is now, state law and the Sunshine Ordinance approved by San Francisco voters set rules and procedures for public access to city meetings. These meetings include city boards, commissions, their committees and task forces, advisory bodies, and any other group created by city charter, ordinance, or resolution. Members of the public must have an opportunity to testify on any matter discussed at a public meeting. Every person must have an equal opportunity to speak. The public cannot testify from remote locations. If a member of the public submits pre-recorded video testimony, the video is made available before the meeting, but does not need to be played during the meeting. An agenda for every city meeting must be published at least 72 hours in advance. The agenda must include a meaningful description of each item of business. The agenda must state the time that the meeting will start, but it need not state the time a specific item will be discussed. The city broadcasts live on the internet and on its television channel meetings of the Board of Supervisors and its committees and some other city boards, commissions, and committees. Meetings are generally audio recorded and stored. The Unified School District Board of Education and the Community College District Governing Board are under the jurisdiction of state public meeting laws, but not the city's Sunshine Ordinance. The proposal. Proposition E would amend the Sunshine Ordinance to require the city to broadcast all city meetings live on the internet. Okay, good start. This measure would also allow members of the public to submit electronically during the meeting live written video or audio comments from any location. If the testimony is not in English, the city would be required to translate it, either with subtitles or a voiceover. Proposition E would require that pre-recorded video testimony submitted 48 hours or more before a meeting be played during the period for public comment. Proposition E also would allow a board, commission, or committee member or a group of 50 or more members of the public to request that discussion of a particular agenda item begin at a certain time and that public comment on an item be allotted a designated amount of time. That request must be made in writing at least 48 hours before a meeting. The item must be discussed at the requested time unless it is unreasonable or would interfere with the proper conduct of the meeting. Proposition E states that it would also apply to all meetings of the school board and the community college board. It would be implemented within 6 months of passage. May be amended to further its purposes by an ordinance passed by a 2/3 vote of the Board of Supervisors and signed by the mayor. This seems like the sort of thing that is well intended, but that would certainly be misused. Like, not so much stuffing the ballot box as like stuffing the public comment box. Because all you need is a whole bunch of people to submit video comments ahead of time in any language which the city would then have to translate. So submit your comments in linear B and let's see what they do about that. And the paid arguments in favor and against are about half and half. Proposition F, short-term residential rentals. You may have heard of this one. This is the Airbnb proposition. Shall the city limit short-term rentals of a housing unit to 75 days per year, regardless of whether the rental is hosted or unhosted? Require owners to provide proof that they authorize the unit as a short-term rental? Require residents who offer short-term rentals to submit quarterly reports on the number of days they live in the unit and the number of days the unit is rented? Prohibit short-term rentals of in-law units? Allow interested parties to sue hosting platforms? And make it a misdemeanor for a hosting platform to unlawfully list a unit as a short-term rental. Let's see, does that lexicon cover in-law units? In-law unit, a separate dwelling unit located within a residential building that generally is smaller than the primary unit. I'm not sure exactly how it would be larger. The way it is now. In an effort to prevent converting residential units to tourist use, San Francisco limits short-term rentals of residential units. A short-term rental lasts less than 30 days. These limits, set forth in San Francisco's short-term residential rental law, require that only permanent residents may offer a residential unit for short-term rental. A permanent resident is someone who has occupied the unit for at least 60 consecutive days. Before offering a unit for short-term rental, permanent residents must register the unit with the city's Office of Short-Term Residential Rental Administration and Enforcement. A permanent resident may not rent a residential unit on a short-term basis for more than 90 days per year if the resident does not live there during the rental period, unhosted rentals. There is no limit on the number of days per year for short-term rentals if the resident lives in the unit during the rental period, hosted rentals. Hosting platforms, which provide a means for a person to advertise a residential unit for short-term rental, Airbnb, must notify users of the city's regulations on short-term rentals. Short-term rentals are subject to the city's hotel tax. That's that $12 million that Airbnb was bragging about paying after they got sued to compel them to do it. It is a misdemeanor for an owner or tenant to unlawfully rent a unit as a short-term rental. In addition, interested parties may sue violators. Interested parties are defined as residents of the building where the residential unit is located, neighbors. The owner of the unit, people who live within 100 feet of the unit, and certain housing nonprofit organizations. The city may sue any violator at any time, but only the city may sue hosting platforms for violating the short-term rental law. The proposal. Proposition F would limit short-term rentals of a unit to 75 days per year, regardless of whether the rental is hosted or unhosted. Hosting platforms would have to stop listing a unit for short-term rental once that unit has been rented on a short-term basis for more than 75 days in a calendar year. Proposition F would require proof that the unit's owner authorizes using the unit as a short-term rental. After including a unit on its short-term rental registry, the city would be required to post a notice on the building stating that a unit has been approved for use as a short-term rental. The city would also be required to mail a notice to the owners, neighbors of the unit, and interested neighborhood organizations. Proposition F would require residents who offer short-term rentals to submit quarterly reports on the number of days they live in the unit and the number of days the unit is rented. Proposition F also would prohibit short-term rental of an in-law unit, even by a permanent resident of that unit, allow interested parties to sue permanent residents and hosting platforms, make it a misdemeanor for a hosting platform to unlawfully list a unit as a short-term rental. It is already a misdemeanor for an owner or a tenant to unlawfully rent a unit as a short-term rental. Proposition F would make it a misdemeanor for a hosting platform, Airbnb, to unlawfully list a unit as a short-term rental. If you vote yes, you want to limit short-term rentals of a unit to 75 days per year, regardless of whether the rental is hosted or unhosted. Require owners to provide proof that they authorize the unit as a short-term rental. Require residents who offer short-term rentals to submit quarterly reports on the number of days they live in the unit and the number of days the unit is rented. Prohibit short-term rentals of in-law units. Allow interested parties to sue hosting platforms, and make it a misdemeanor for a hosting platform to unlawfully list a unit as a short-term rental. There's some good stuff here. Some of this is fairly concerning, actually. Like the whole thing about interested neighborhood or mailing a notice to interested neighborhood organizations. That's gonna cause a lot of mail, to say the least. So this is the one that you may have seen on Twitter. Airbnb funded a lot of the paid arguments against. So let's see. Paid arguments in favor. 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 pages of paid arguments in favor from various sources. Well, at least a few sources. I see at least 2 from the same set of sources. Yeah, there's sort of a... There are several of these that are sponsored by the same 3 organizations. So there's a bit of that on the in favor side as well. As far as paid arguments against, so first off, let's see how many there are in total. 1 page, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5 pages of paid arguments against. Let's see how many of them are sponsored by Airbnb. 1, 2, and like the sole contributor to the True Source Recipient Committee, Airbnb. So yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, hey, there's the Libertarian Party of San Francisco again. 10, 11, 12. 12 paid arguments against Proposition F paid for by Airbnb. So Jamie Zawinski, aka JWZ, blogged about this proposition and said that if a company lobbies that hard against a law, you should basically automatically vote for it. I don't quite agree with that. It's kind of letting them control your destiny anyway if you do it that way. I definitely am not on board with voting for anything reflexively. And like I said, there's some stuff in here that is concerning, like the whole mail the what was it? I'm all the way back in Proposition E. Be required to post a notice on the building and mail a notice to the owners, neighbors of the unit, and interested neighborhood organizations. I mean, that basic. I think that's also part of the idea, is that would basically kill Airbnb. Like, who's going to rent a place on Airbnb if that's going to happen? Like, I think it's actually the idea there that that's going to lead to protesters outside of people's homes. So I guess the question is, are you willing to put up with that? Is it a net win? Is it a net positive to pass this law and like limit short-term rentals of a unit to 75 days per year, regardless of whether it's hosted or unhosted? And like, and prohibit short-term rental of an in-law unit. Allow interested parties to sue hosting platforms. That sounds potentially useful. Anyway, y'all can make up your own decision on there. Proposition G. Proponents' argument in favor of Proposition G. Blank space. This argument has been withdrawn. So I'm going to refill my water and be back in a few minutes. All right. Proposition G, disclosures regarding renewable energy. Shall the city define renewable greenhouse gas-free electricity to mean electricity derived exclusively from certain renewable sources located within or adjacent to the California border, or electricity derived from hetchy from other types of resources, such as rooftop solar and other large hydroelectric facilities? Require Clean Power SF to inform customers and potential customers of the planned percentage of renewable greenhouse gas-free electricity to be provided, and prohibit Clean Power SF from marketing, advertising, or making any public statement that its electricity, unless the electricity is renewable greenhouse gas-free electricity as defined in this measure. The way it is now, San Francisco and other local governments are allowed by state law to purchase and generate to residential and business customers. San Francisco has created Clean Power SF, a program to purchase, generate, and sell electricity. Clean Power SF has not yet electricity to customers, so most San Francisco residents and businesses currently purchase their electricity from Pacific Gas and Electric, a private company. Residents and businesses will be able to choose whether to purchase electricity from PG&E or Clean Power SF. The city generates hydroelectric power at its hetchy facilities in Tuolumne County. You can tell I'm relatively near here. Tuolumne County, and uses this power to meet most of its municipal power needs. The city does not sell this electricity to most San Francisco residents or businesses. State law requires all retail electricity suppliers to disclose to customers the sources of power being provided, including renewable energy resources. Renewable resources include biomass, solar thermal, photovoltaic, wind, geothermal, solid waste conversion, landfill gas, ocean wave, ocean thermal, and tidal current. Current city law does not define renewable greenhouse gas-free electricity. The state requires that a certain percentage of the electricity provided to customers must come from eligible renewable energy resources, which include renewable resources located in the Western United States, Canada, and San Francisco is allowed to use power from its hetchy facilities to meet its required renewable resource percentage. Under state law, eligible renewable energy resources are classified into 3 different categories, depending primarily on when and where the electricity is generated. The proposal. Proposition G would define renewable greenhouse gas-free electricity as electricity from only one of the 3 categories of eligible renewable energy resources. Renewable greenhouse gas-free electricity would be electricity obtained exclusively from renewable sources located within or adjacent to the California border, with the exception of certain resources such as rooftop solar panels in San Francisco, or electricity generated by the city's hetchy facilities, but not electricity generated from other large hydroelectric facilities. This definition would apply only to San Francisco's Clean Power SF program. Other sellers of electricity in San Francisco would continue to follow the state definition. Proposition G would require the city to inform customers and potential customers of Clean Power SF of the planned percentage of types of renewable greenhouse gas-free electricity to be provided in every communication sent to customers and potential customers. Clean Power SF would not be allowed to market, advertise, or make any public statement that its electricity is clean or green unless the electricity is renewable greenhouse gas-free electricity as defined in this measure. A yes vote means if you vote yes, you want to define renewable greenhouse gas-free electricity to mean electricity derived exclusively from certain renewable sources located within or adjacent to the California border, or or electricity derived from hetchy, with the exception of electricity from other types of resources such as rooftop solar and other large hydroelectric facilities. Require Clean Power SF to inform customers and potential customers of the planned percentage of renewable greenhouse gas-free electricity to be provided, and prohibit Clean Power SF from marketing, advertising, or making any public statement that its electricity is clean or green unless the electricity is renewable greenhouse gas-free electricity as defined in this measure. If you vote no, you do not want to impose these regulations. So this one got on the ballot via a signature petition, and it is one of a pair. Propositions G and H concern the same subject matter. If both measures are adopted by the voters, and if there is a conflict between provisions of the two measures, then some or all of the measure approved by fewer votes would not go into effect. So there were no paid arguments in favor of Proposition G, not to mention this is the one where the proponent's argument was withdrawn. So the opponent's argument against Proposition G basically summarizes the situation. No one supports Proposition G, not even the PG&E employees who wrote it. Blah, blah, blah. PG&E employees wrote Prop G to protect their company's energy monopoly and hurt San Francisco's new clean energy program called Clean Power SF. Prop G would create a new definition for the terms clean and green electricity that would only apply to Clean Power SF, but not any of the other 57 counties in the state or even PG&E itself. And shockingly, that new definition would prohibit San Francisco from calling rooftop solar panels clean, even while PG&E could go on calling its nuclear power clean. Well, come on, nuclear power is clean. Compared to like coal. Yeah, so Prop G is kind of dubious. Proposition 8, defining clean, green, and renewable energy. Oh, and by the way, paid arguments, no paid arguments in favor, and there was like a page in, like 75% of a page in favor, or of paid arguments against Prop G. Prop H, defining clean, green, and renewable energy. Shall the city use the state definition of eligible renewable energy resources when referring to terms such as clean energy, green energy, and renewable greenhouse gas-free energy? And shall Clean Power SF be urged to inform customers and potential customers of the planned percentage of types of renewable energy to be supplied in each communication? And shall it be city policy for Clean Power SF to use electricity generated within California and San Francisco when possible? The way it is now, SF and other local governments are allowed by state law to purchase and generate electricity to sell to residential and business customers. And Clean Power SF exists. The city generates hydroelectric power. Current city law does not define clean energy, green energy, renewable greenhouse gas-free energy, or similar terms. Requires a certain percentage of the electricity provided to customers must come from eligible renewable energy resources. The proposal, under Proposition H, San Francisco would use the state definition of eligible renewable energy resources when referring to terms such as clean energy, green energy, and renewable greenhouse gas-free energy. Included in this definition is electricity from large hydroelectric facilities such as Hetchy. This definition would apply to all city programs and expenditures. Proposition H would urge Clean Power SF to inform customers and potential customers of the planned percentage of clean energy, green energy, green energy, and renewable greenhouse gas-free energy to be supplied in each communication required by law. And would make it city policy for Clean Power SF to use electricity generated within California and San Francisco within possible. when possible. So yeah, I could go either way on Prop H, Proposition G, and there's an argument in favor, there's an argument against. Paid arguments in favor. There's a whole bunch of paid arguments in favor and none against. Well, more specifically, there's one page of paid arguments in favor and none against. Then there's Prop I. This is the mission moratorium. Prop I, suspension rate development in the Mission District. Shall the city suspend the issuance of permits on certain types of housing and business development projects in the Mission District for at least 18 months and develop a neighborhood stabilization plan for the Mission District by January 31st, 2017? The way it is now, persons seeking to build new housing, renovate or demolish existing housing, or change the use of a property in San Francisco must obtain permits from the city. The proposal, short and sweet. The proposal, Proposition 1, I almost said Proposition 1. Proposition I would suspend the issuance of city permits on certain types of housing and business Mission District for 18 months. San Francisco's Mission District is a neighborhood roughly bounded to the west by Guerrero Street, to the south by Cesar Chavez Street, to the east by Potrero Avenue, and to the north by US Route 101. Other neighborhoods would not be subject to suspension. Proposition I would also would authorize a possible extension of the suspension for an additional 12 months by a majority of the Board of Supervisors. Proposition I would cover these types of developments: the demolition, substantial renovation, conversion, or new construction of any housing development containing 5 or more units, and the demolition, substantial renovation, conversion, or elimination of buildings used for production, distribution, and repair, PDR. Under city law, PDR uses include a variety of business-related uses such as industrial, storage, and wholesale. This also includes small businesses such as furniture makers, recording studios, auto plumbing supply stores, art studios, and lumber yards. These prohibitions would not apply to the issuance of permits for housing developments where all units are defined as affordable to low and moderate income households. Proposition I would require the city to develop a neighborhood stabilization plan by January 31st, 2017. The goal of this plan would be to propose legislation, policies, programs, funding, and zoning controls so that at least 50% of all new housing would be affordable to low, moderate, and middle-income households and available to residents of the Mission. A yes vote means you want to suspend the issuance of city permits on certain types of housing and business development projects in the Mission District for at least 18 months. You also want the city to develop a neighborhood stabilization plan for the Mission District by January 31st, 2017. If you vote no, you do not want to make these changes. So basically, with this, the only permits that would be allowed would be for low to moderate housing in the Mission, specifically. Arguments in favor and against. Paid arguments in favor. 3, 4, 5. So about 4 1/4 pages of paid arguments in favor of Prop I. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and about 7 pages worth of paid arguments against. How many more do we have here? Okay, we got two more. Proposition J, church, or not. Proposition J, Legacy Business Historic Preservation Fund. Shall the city establish a Legacy Business Historic Preservation Fund, which would give grants to legacy businesses and to building owners who lease space to those businesses for terms of at least 10 years, and expand the definition of a legacy business to include those that have operated in San Francisco for more than 20 years and are at risk of displacement and meet the other requirements of the registry. The way it is now, San Francisco is establishing a registry of legacy businesses, the Registry. To be considered for the Legacy Business Registry, a business or nonprofit must meet 3 criteria. It has operated in San Francisco for 30 or more years and either was founded or currently has its headquarters in San Francisco. It has contributed to the neighborhood's history or identity, and it is committed to maintaining the physical features or traditions that define the business or nonprofit. A business or nonprofit must first be nominated by a member of the Board of Supervisors or the mayor. The Small Business Commission then conducts a hearing to determine the business's eligibility. The proposal, Proposition J, would create a Legacy Business Historic Preservation Fund, which would give grants to businesses listed in the registry and to building owners who lease property to those businesses for at least 10 years. Legacy businesses will grant of up to $500 per full-time equivalent employee in San Francisco. Building owners who lease space in San Francisco buildings to legacy businesses for terms of at least 10 years could receive an annual grant of up to $4.50 per square foot of leased space. Proposition J would also expand the definition of legacy businesses to include businesses and nonprofits that have operated in San Francisco for more than 20 years, as opposed to 30 or more, have significantly contributed to the history or identity of a neighborhood, and, if not included in the registry, would face a significant risk of displacement because of increased rents or lease terminations. A yes vote means if you vote yes, you want to establish a Legacy Business Historic Preservation Fund, which everything I just said. If you vote no, you do not want to establish a Legacy Business Historic Preservation Fund, and you do not want to expand the definition of a legacy business. So there's about a page and a quarter in favor of paid arguments in favor, and exactly 2 paid arguments against. Hey, there's the Libertarian Party again. The No Party. Proposition K, surplus public lands. Shall the city expand the allowable uses of surplus property to include building affordable housing for a range of households, from those who are homeless or those with very low income to those with incomes up to 120% of the area median income, and for projects of more than 200 units, make some housing available for households earning up to 150% or more of the area median income. The way it is now, San Francisco has a policy of using real property the city does not need, surplus property, to build affordable housing. If the property is not suitable for housing, it can be sold and the proceeds used to build affordable housing elsewhere in the city. Under the city's policy, affordable housing is housing that is affordable to households earning up to 60% of the area median income. Every year, city departments are required to identify surplus property. The city transfers the surplus property to the mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development, which then determines if the property is suitable for affordable housing. If so, the city solicits applications from nonprofit organizations serving the homeless to build affordable housing on the property. City property controlled by the Recreation and Parks Commission, the Port, the Airport, the Public Utilities Commission, and the Municipal Transportation Agency is exempt from the sale requirements. The proposal. Proposition K would expand the allowable uses of surplus property to include building affordable housing for a range of households from those with very low income, homeless, and those earning under 20% of the area median income to those with incomes up to 120% of the area median income. In surplus property developments with 200 or more units, allow mixed income projects that include affordable housing for households earning up to 120% of the area median income, housing for middle income households earning up to 150% of the area median income, and housing with no income limitations. Expand the annual process for identifying surplus property with specific reporting dates, public hearings, and oversight by the Board of Supervisors. Prohibit the city, without prior approval of the Board of Supervisors, from taking any actions to sell surplus property for 120 days if the Board of Supervisors is considering developing this property for affordable housing. Require that at least 33% of the total housing units developed on surplus property sold by the city be affordable, with at least 15% of rental units affordable to people earning up to 55% of the area median income, and 18% affordable to people earning up to 120% of the area median income. Maintain exemptions for city property controlled by the Recreation and Parks Commission, the Port, the Airport, the PUC, and the MTA. Make it city policy to ask all other local agencies, such as school districts, to notify the city before selling property in San Francisco and give the city the opportunity to buy it for affordable housing. Proposition K would allow the Board of Supervisors to waive the requirements of this law for other public purposes, such as creating facilities for healthcare, childcare, education, open space, public safety, transit, and infrastructure. If you vote yes, you want the city to expand the allowable uses of surplus property to include building affordable housing for a range of households from those who are homeless or those with very low income to those with incomes up to 120% of the area median income. For projects of more than 200 units, some housing would be available for households earning up to 150% or more of the area median income. If you vote no, you do not want to make these changes. And arguments in favor and against. Paid arguments in favor, 2 pages. Paid argument against, there is exactly 1. So that's all of them, and I'm not going to read the legal text. Oh, apparently there are diagrams for Proposition D showing the current zoning map and the design guidelines for bulk of buildings and height of buildings. Any other goodies? I don't think so. Oh, there's one more. That's also under Proposition D. Yep, that's it. Happy voting.